Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name's Claire, and if you have watched my videos for any significant of time, then you know that I have been endlessly working on my fantasy manuscript and that I am looking to go into traditional publishing. You may be like, wow, is your manuscript done? No. Well, it's done, but I am not completely finished with editing yet. There's like little bits here and there in the middle that I'm still sprucing up a little bit, making sure everything's consistent. I would say it's 90% there, and because of that, I have decided to start querying. So I just wanted to speak about my experiences with that, what I'm noticing, what I'm going through, and share that with you guys. So if any of you are in the querying process, maybe this will help. But yes, elephant in the room, new camera. The camera I previously got was complete garbage, so I'm so sorry that the last 3 videos have looked very rough. I have messed with it and messed with it. I thought maybe there was something wrong with the settings or something wrong that I was doing on my end, because there was really no reason why it should have been that grainy or that blurry. But I think there was just something wrong with the camera, so it has been returned. I have a brand new, beautiful, really nice camera that my friend is just letting me use, so I'm very thankful for that, and everything should be looking real nice now. So thank you for putting up with that transition period and for being with me throughout my crazy camera slash phone adventures. So if you like this kind of video, if you like the setup, if you like the camera, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. That helps me out the most, and let's get started. So if you found this video, I'm kind of going to be assuming that you probably know what querying an agent is, but just in case, it is where you, as an unrepresented author, send out a query letter to literary agents. A query letter is generally between 300 to 500 words, kind of explaining more or less the first act of your book, and then a little bit about yourself. And different people will explain exactly what they look for in a query letter. Some people want you to explain exactly why you sought out that agent. Include like, oh, I read in your blog that you're looking for epic fantasies, and some people say no, like that agent already knows what they're looking for, you don't need to explain to them what they already know they're looking for. Generally, you want to include a little bit something about yourself, especially if you do have previous sales, whether in the traditionally published marketplace or in the self-publishing field. Or if you just have any sort of credentials, like if you've gone to school for writing, any journalism, any sort of writing credits that you can throw in there. Because I did not go to school and I don't really have any credits, I included this YouTube channel that is reading and writing oriented, so things like that. And then generally, like I said, you include kind of the first act of your book, because you don't have many words to work with, so you're kind of trying to get across what's essentially maybe 3 or 4 paragraphs, the book's writing style or tone or voice or point of view or setting, characters. And it's hard because with such limited space, you don't want to use a lot of proper names. You don't want to throw in so much information that it bogs everything down. You want to be very selective with your words. It's been said time and time again, just because someone is a great writer does not mean that they are great at writing queries. Queries is a whole different ballpark. So what I found to be really helpful is, 1, watch a lot of YouTube videos pertaining to querying, and people who have queried in the past. Sometimes literary agents will put out there what they look for in queries. Query Shark, look that up. It's a literary agent and she's very intense with her critiques. People will send their queries to her and she will break down in very specifically why something does or doesn't work. And usually it always comes down to either you were too vague about something, or you overdid something. So it seems to be trying to find that balance of like, you don't want to be so vague where it's like, and now the fate of the world is in their hands. Like, what does that mean? But you also don't want to include every proper name that you have in your books. I think this is especially pertains to fantasy and sci-fi, where maybe you have some really crazy names, locations, magic, technology that could really bog down a query when you don't have a lot of words to allow yourself to do that. Those resources have been extremely helpful. There's also a writing podcast that I listen to every once in a while, and I'll make sure to throw in the link below, and they have kind of a similar thing to Query Sharks, where people send them in queries and they'll critique them on the podcast. They only have a few episodes of those, but I also found those to be extremely useful. And if there's any other query specific writing videos like on YouTube, I will also just link those down below. So that all being said, I started querying recently. I started querying about almost maybe 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago. I've had my query letter ready to go for a minute. I wrote it and I sent it to friends that already know about the book and have been helping me with the book pretty much since the conception, but also to people whose taste I trust, but who doesn't know as much about the story, because I just need that feedback about like, what do you understand? What don't you understand? What's confusing? What kind of makes your eyes glaze over? Because I need that immediate feedback. And by the time I got to more or less my final draft of the query, I got nothing but positive feedback, and I was like, okay, this works. The resource that has helped me the most since I've decided to start querying was Query Tracker. You can pay $25 a year to get full access to the site. I haven't done that yet. I don't know if I will. I'm not saying you shouldn't. You probably should. I am just one of those people where, for better or worse, I kind of go off of my gut reaction or instinct when it comes even to really important things, and I tend to not look into the details too much. This is sounding terrible, and it's always worked out to me. Like, I moved to Columbus on a whim, I adopted my dog on the whim, I got this house on a whim, and it's all worked out for me. So that doesn't mean I don't do research, but I'm just not sure the extra services that Query Tracker provides is something that I will necessarily use. But it's $25 a month, so your discretion. But the nice thing about Query Tracker is that you can look up an agent. You can see comments of other people who have queried that agent and how long it's taken for that agent to get back to them. Sometimes they'll even mention what that agent said to them or why they've rejected them. It just links to a lot of important information with that agent, like their website, but also their Twitter account, their manuscript wish list, the genres they represent, the clients they had, and all of that is really important. Oh, it will let you know if they're accepting queries at that time, which is very useful. Agents aren't always taking on queries, so you always have to check that. And then I always go to the website and actually see, like, okay, wait, who do you represent? Who does your agency tend to represent? I prefer to look at people and query towards people that have represented fantasy or YA fantasy in the past and seem to have a passion for that genre. Sometimes agents, they'll throw in that they are seeking fantasy or sci-fi books, but then when you actually go to their site, the majority of what they represent is like nonfiction or historical drama or something like that, where it's like, I appreciate that you're trying to branch out who you represent, but and not that I will necessarily not agent or not query that agent, but I want somebody who's as passionate about the genre as I am. So I always go to their website, I always make sure they're open, I look at their clientele, I see like what seems to be their top priority when looking for new people to represent. They generally will put on their website or on their like manuscript wish list page what they're looking for. So even if they are looking for fantasy, sometimes they'll be like exactly what type of fantasy. They're looking for epics, they're looking for star-crossed lovers, they're looking for fantasies that are dealing with these specific cultures. So that's always useful. And if there's something that like fits perfectly, I mean, no one's put that they're looking for a Celtic inspired fantasy exactly, but if they did, I would definitely throw that in my query, like, you said on your manuscript wish list that you were looking for a Celtic fantasy. I have done that with a few agents, especially when I go to their manuscript wish list page or their Twitter, and they mention that they're looking for something, and I'll kind of take that and throw that in my query at the bottom. I saw that you tweeted that you're looking for blank, and I also have blank, or something like that. Try to make it a little bit more sophisticated than that. It's a lot of checking and double checking and triple checking, like, okay, do I think we would actually make a good match together? Do I think that we would share similar ideas and similar goals? And ultimately, there's only so much you can gather from a person, but go through these resources, go to these pages. They generally are putting out what they want. So the average aspiring author will query 30 to 80 agents, and thus far I have queried, I think, 12. So I know I'm just getting started, and I may get to a point where I'm not nearly as picky, and I'm just like, let's just throw it out there, let's just see what happens, because you never know. And I have heard time and time again, who you think is your dream agent may turn out very much not to be, and who you may be is on mid-tier agent may be exactly the kind of person that works for you. At the end of the day, you and your agent are forming a business relationships for hopefully not just this book, but for your entire career. So this relationship is extremely important, because your editor might change, the publishing house that your first few books get sold to might change later down the line, but if you're lucky, you will have only one agent for the duration of your career. It is important. You do want to put the time and effort into querying. Oh, also, actually read how they want you to submit your queries, because it is not standardized. Some people will have a forum that they want you to go to and fill in all the information. Some people will want you to send your query and the first 5 or 10 pages of your manuscript to their email address. Some people also want a synopsis. So that was something that I actually had to write up, which I was like, I'll write it up back months ago, and then never did. And then now I'm querying and I'm like, oh, I guess I need to write a synopsis, which is similar to a query, except it's the entire book. And you have to spoil it, you have to tell the ending. While the query, you can kind of focus on the voice and the style of your writing. Synopsis is pretty bare bones. You're just trying to explain to the agent what is happening in your book in 1 to 2 pages, which was also really hard. But I did it, and some agents require that. So that's another thing when you go to their website. Read what they're looking for. The majority of agents also do not want attachments. I had one that said that you could attach like your first chapter to the email, but the majority of it want your query and your bio and your synopsis all in the body of the email. So do that. Follow instructions. Make sure that when you address them in your query, dear so-and-so, that you're spelling their name correctly. If you're taking this seriously, if you want this to be a career, you have to treat it like it's important, like it's a part of your job, and to give it that much attention and focus, and just to make sure that there's not any casual mistakes. I've queried about a dozen people, and thus far I have gotten 2 rejections, which you might be like, why are you so excited about that? I'm just excited that they got back to me so soon, honestly. Some agents will say, if you do not hear back from us in 8 weeks, that means it's a no. We'll always get back to you in 6 to 8 weeks, in 4 to 8 weeks. The majority of agents take a while to get back to you, if they get back to you at all. So the fact that these ones got back to me, even if it's a rejection, it's like, Okay, well that's 2 less people to worry about. They weren't personalized, which was a little bit of a bummer because even if it's a rejection, it means that they showed interest, but you know, it is what it is. I haven't gotten a rejection from a dream agent yet, so I'm sure that will be a little bit more heartbreaking, a little bit more devastating. It's definitely exciting. It does take a lot of time because, like I said, there's a lot of research that is involved. So if an agent reaches out to me and it's not a rejection, it will hopefully be to ask for a partial or a full of my manuscript. A partial is generally the first 50 pages, and then the full is obviously the full thing. And that is obviously what you're hoping for. That doesn't mean it's a yes. That means they still have to take time to actually read it and see if they feel that your book is marketable, that they have connections and relations with editors that would actually want to pick your book up. But that's kind of the next step before you have that agent phone call, and that's where you kind of like, not face to face, but I guess voice to voice interaction to see if you guys would be a good fit, things that they would maybe want to change or tweak about your manuscript. And if all of that goes well, then maybe you would sign on to their agency. Also depends if other agents are reaching out to you as well, and then you have to like think about both agencies, maybe get both boilerplates of their contracts and kind of compare. There's a bunch of things that go involved that I'm very excited to get to that point, if I get to that point. This is the part that I've both been most excited and least excited about when it comes to hopefully starting my fiction writing career, because I can't control people liking my book and believing in my book enough to think that they can sell it to editors. And then of course I can't control those editors and what their budget for my book is. There's a lot of stuff that starts to get out of my control, and that scares me. It's also exciting. It kind of feels like I'm really dipping my toe into the legitimate author with a capital A world, and I could not be more excited about it. So I will definitely keep you guys up to date with the process. I'm not going to divulge any details because again, we're trying to keep it professional here. I'm just really excited to share this journey with you guys, and I hope if you are also going on a similar journey that this was helpful to you as well. If you have any advice or questions, please leave it in the comments down below, and go ahead and follow me on Instagram. It is Miss Claire Bear with 3 S's. I am partaking in a month-long book challenge, so I have a lot of like really fun and creative book-oriented photography that I've been throwing up on there, which has been challenging but really fun. And subscribe, share, show your friends, show your family if you want, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.